Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead. So it is Wednesday, and you're going to see more headlines of all-time highs, which is cool. You know, good constructive action, all depending on what time frame that you're trading. You know, long-term accounts, you're getting rewarded. You've been putting money in every single month for the past 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Congrats. If you trade for Alpha and P&L, you know we're in this weird spot where this morning the oscillator was plus 81. Okay, I haven't seen that in a long time, and it closed plus 50, which, you know, at any other time, plus 50 would be huge. So it's making it hard for, you know, traders, even myself, to, you know, sink your teeth into new positions, considering that we just had, you know, a nice week worth of action. So if this is going to be the type of consolidation we have, so be it. You know, some sectors were weak, and, you know, the spiders and the S&P kind of just held in there. You know, you look at the chart of the S&P, you will see, you know, we still had, you know, you had your breakout above the 2-year range, which is right here. Okay, some of us, including me, would love to see a retest of this, but sometimes you don't get it. Sometimes it's got to squeeze every short out before it happens. All in all, you know, your 8-day, your 21-day is lower. Okay, here's your 8-day, so it's playing some catch up, and this is where we were post-Brexit. So, you know, if this didn't happen, you know, and like you just get that out of the way, you know, from here to there, it's not so extreme. But because, you know, they purged everyone out because everyone in the world said the world was going to end, and it didn't, you know, it seems like we came much further than we actually did. You know, when you talk about trades, though, we like to be calculated. For me, the calculated trade was after this bounce back, measuring the pull-in. Okay, and we didn't have much. So this was your spot to get long. Then your other spot to get long is when we took out this little descending channel here on the strong jobs number. So now here we are, you know, kind of just trudging along, where we're building a little bit of like an ascending channel, and that ascending channel could stay intact until it breaks. Okay, so we'll see what happens. All in all, though, not much downside there. But then if you look at something like the IBB, you know, you could, you know, use that as an example, which no one wants to happen in the S&P if they're there. Is look at this ascending channel right here. So after 4 days of little choppy action, after a big move off the lows, boom, day one to the downside. That looks more like a, you know, a short versus not, you know, or versus a long, especially after today, or just a pull-in, you know. And so here would be a likely spot to see if it could hold. But this closed on the lows. That was weaker. So you would have thought with, you know, with the IBBs closing on the lows, and just even the Russell closed on, you know, not on the lows, but, you know, yeah, actually no big deal if you think about where the Russell came from. The IWM broke out from here with that inside bar and one down day. I think a lot of us would have liked that just in the spiders, which didn't happen. And now you'll see if this holds or it tries to fill this gap and let this catch up. But this was the first day that, you know, you had a red bar. So the Russell and the bios were red. The Qs also, not a crazy down day, but also closed near the lows. You know, closed below yesterday's low also, which we talked about on this narrow range bar where look how you're extended from the 8-day. That's why people are having a hard time buying Qs now. Here is your buyable red dog reversal. Here's when it took out the range. So up here, you know, makes sense if you're a little bit cautious, kind of like what I'm being a little cautious right now, but this closed on the lows. So those three sectors closed on the lows, and the spiders didn't. The spiders gave you a doji, so maybe it plays catch up tomorrow to the downside, or not. Maybe there's just, you know, too many other things in there, like whether it's the railroads, the transports, or this or that, where it's still, you know, kind of a runaway train. And, you know, it's above both peaks and above the 8-day and still looks just fine. Okay, not giving you any true signals to be shorted except you're trying to catch something. But anyway, another thing that I thought was oil. Oil got hit hard after the inventories number. I thought it would play catch up. Oil, you know, closed near the lows. So at this point, the market didn't really care much. Okay, you still had this, you know, ascending channel that broke to the downside and then tried to rally up and couldn't. So now is this a bear flag for downside continuation in oil? If it is, that would pressure things a little bit, I would think. The XLE kind of held where it had to. So you look there, it filled the gap from yesterday and held the moving average, and maybe with a little bit of time, if oil gets a bounce overseas, this could hang in there, and that's kind of what the sectors look like. Yesterday, the gold and the miners closed on the lows and gapped up, and if you went out short, it made kind of sense, and you know, you might be a little trapped. I don't know what to tell you right now. You look at the miners, okay? Yes, on this day, yesterday, it looked as if you were going to get some downside follow-through, right? After a big move in equities, downside closing the lows, and boom, it opened up. So at this point, there's a, bull flag type pattern. I don't know what to tell you. If you're still shorted, better be careful because it looks like it's just consolidated and did nothing for like 5-6 sessions and held the 8-day and still strong, kind of like this before going. So I would have covered if I was shorted. And it doesn't mean you have to be long it overnight, but just looking at this like this looks pretty healthy, nice healthy consolidation. Gold doesn't look as, as strong as the miners, but this too opened up, and tomorrow you'll see whether it takes this out to continue and maybe fills this gap. The TLTs gave you good follow through 2 days ago, but if you stayed too long or you didn't cover quick enough, today hurt you. Here was your close and the lows, kind of what like the miners and gold looked like yesterday before this, but that didn't happen there. And now, you'll see if this gets filled tomorrow. Still above the 8 and 21 day, but it was extended. That's why some people have been looking for a short, and you got one. Didn't amount to much more, but you'll see what goes on next. Then you go into Stockland. Amazon got sold on Prime Day. It was off today. It rallied on a report that it had its best day ever, or best Prime Day ever, but meanwhile it was only the second one, so people put some skepticism in there. At this point, here was your breakout above 731. Not the end of the world, but 2 down days for Amazon, so it'd be nice to see if one down day could be a good reversal to be a buyer. It's above the 8-day. Here's a 21-day. It's pulled into those in the past before rallying again. So at this point, though, it didn't really affect the market too much, but it's not really giving you a day trading reason to be long it right now. So you'll see Facebook also is weak. Unless you said, I'm going to buy it on the 50-day because that's what I want to do, there was no reason to buy it. It closed in the lows. It took out a prior low. So this was something that maybe you made money short. I tried to be long it once or twice. It didn't work. And now it's, it looks fine. Here was, the inside range that broke out from, and here's your 8 and 21 day. So tomorrow would be cool if it opened down and we can get like a red dog reversal and then flag again to go. But, it's still, besides it just being down 2 days, it's not giving you a day trading reason to buy it. Netflix is interesting because Netflix has been the one downgraded by everybody out there, or a lot of people out there. Barron's 40% lower, 2 different price target, reductions, and look at this, still going sideways and getting pretty tight in the 200 days right there. So this to me is still on my radar as a setup. It's not leading the market because the market's at highs, and look where this is, but still in the ball game to wake up, because that's what Netflix does at times. It wakes up. So we'll see what happens here, if that could actually take place. So this looked kind of better. TWLO, the monster new issue that we've talked about so many times, is traded into a highs, and this is why I started adding this to my note. I think, right here, and then this happened, and then held, and then boom, and now it's at highs. So this looks pretty good to continue. ACIA, one of the reasons why, because another new issue that's been doing really well. You look at this, lots of nice trades here, lots of nice pivots for momentum. Here was one of them. I started putting this on my note right here into this support, and then it took this out, and it's been riding the 8-day since, cleared the pivot highs. Today they shook the tree a little bit, but held in there. Thin stocks do that, so you have to be careful. But all in all, from here, 32 to over 50, that's a big move. We've seen this before big failures, obviously. We saw this, and when stocks come public, sometimes they have a lot of nice momentum. Okay, remember SHAK, from 40 to 100. Okay, remember GPRO. What did that do? That went from like, same thing, 40, this one went from, the 30s to 100. And it had a lot of great patterns, Boom, nice pattern to the upside. Nice bull flag, stayed above the 8-day, and then boom, and then it changed. So, when these new issues come out, you want to learn how they trade, and because these new issues, if they're coming out, because the new issue market's so horrendous, that means there has to be a lot of potential there and a lot of institutional support. So, tends to sort of, gives you good, avenues for trades. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. The oscillator is now plus 55, not plus 82. Some sectors had down days closing on the lows. The S&P didn't. Question is, will the S&P follow to the downside tomorrow? Maybe. I'm short a little bit overnight. Just for some reason, my gut's telling me we open down, and if we're open down, I'll be a little upset because I didn't listen to my little birdie. Not many things told me that I should be. We just had a nice rally. I was in like 5-6 longs from last Wednesday up until yesterday's close, went out flat, so that kind of saved some money. So we'll see. I'm trying to, pick up a few silver dollar pieces, probably in front of a steamroller, because just like, if you remember here in the spiders, after this move, I remember in the morning call, everyone's like, they love my little gun to head call or whatever, I do when I'm giving kind of like an indication. When we got to here, when we pulled in, I was like, I think we could maybe be down 2-3 points, but the next 5 to 7 point move is going to be to the upside. Well, here we went to the upside, and now they're saying, what do you think is the same? If I had to say, what's the next, $1.50, I don't know if it's $1.50, but I would say, I think there's a greater chance that we would see this spot before seeing 218 for now, but I do think if you want to go bigger than that, I would say we see 218 to 220 before we see below 210, if that's the case, if that helps you with my short-term thinking, but whatever, that's all that is trying to guesstimate, which we hate to do. We like to confirm, our thoughts when the market confirms it and then we execute. But for now, definitely a good spot to be mixed, some longs, some shorts, flexible with maybe not as much size as you had last week. And play it by ear as earnings season is going to start, and there'll be more than enough action. So if you don't think there's enough opportunities in sectors right now, which I don't think there's a ton of it right now, then wait. Earnings will happen, things will move, and we'll try and benefit that way. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.